We're going to start by crocheting the elephant's ears. So take the yarn, place it in the palm of your hand and create a cross. Turn your palm over and you'll have 2 parallel lines. Place the hook under the first and loop the second through. Turn your hook and then lift that second loop or parallel line up and through the loop. This will create your magic ring. Pull it slightly to make sure it's working, and then you need to start single crocheting into the magic ring. So we're going to start by putting our hook through the centre of the circle, making sure to go around the tail and the circle itself. We're going to yarn over, pull that through. We've now got 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through. We're going to do that again. So into the centre of our circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. We'll look at that one more time. So your hook into the centre of the circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. As you can see, we've now got 3 stitches. So the one on the hook does not count. So we start counting from down here. So we have 1. As you can see, we've got our V here. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we're going to carry on. To close our magic ring, we need to pull the tail through. This will close it completely. And that's how you do a magic ring with single crochets. Next, we need to close the magic ring. So we need to find our first stitch, place our hook through, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through. That's our first stitch, and we need to put our stitch marker in so we know where we started our round. To increase, go back into the same hole. So you need to put our hook through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we've done 2 stitches in the same stitch. So here's the next stitch. You can see we've got our 2 lines here. So we're going to put our hook through the hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And we're going to go into the same place, that's in here. So we put our hook in again, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And you can do that until you've reached the end of the round. Now we're going to single crochet and increase. So remove your stitch marker. So in the first stitch, we're going to do a single crochet. Don't forget to mark your stitch there so you know where the beginning of your round is. And then we're going to increase. So we do 2 stitches in the same stitch. And we're going to repeat that. So single crochet and then increase. One more time, single crochet and increase. So your work should be nice and flat. It's really important that you remember that the yarn shouldn't be pulled tight. You should be able to pull it through really easily without any trouble. So make sure that you're not working with the yarn and pulling it really tight. Just let it go loosely in your hands. Next, we're going to look at a single crochet and then 2 single crochets and an increase. So we need to single crochet like we normally would. Place our stitch marker back in to mark the start of our round, although this round will not end. So then we need to do 2 single crochets. So that's 1. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2. And then we need to increase in the next. And we're going to repeat that. This is what our reel will start to look like. Remember, we don't finish the round, so we don't need to make it all the way back to the stitch marker. We now need to chain. So loop the yarn over your hook and pull through. This creates a chain underneath the hook and away from your piece of work. To turn your work, you simply need to turn it over to face the other way. Then this is what your ear will look like. You then need to chain. This is what your ear will look like. Remember, it won't make it all the way back round to your stitch marker, but it's useful to keep that there so you know where the start of the round was. We then need to chain. So yarn over and pull through. That is a chain 1. You then need to turn your work. So simply flip it over to the other side and then continue working. So remember, to chain, we're going to yarn over and pull through. We're going to turn our work, and we don't go into this first or into our chain, we go into this stitch here. So it creates a slight bobble at the end. Your elephant ear should start to look something a little like this. So we've now finished crocheting. You can remove your stitch marker and leave that to the side. You then need to leave enough yarn to be able to sew the ear on. So I'm going to cut it around here. We then need to pull the yarn through so as your work's not going to come undone. And just for reference, that is just over my crochet hook long. Now we're going to look at crocheting the trunk. So again, we need to make our magic ring. And continue our single crochets. And don't forget to close your magic ring by pulling the tail. Single crochet all the way around. So we're now on row 2, and we want to push the trunk through so that the back is actually the front. And you want to carry on crocheting as though you're on the outside of it. So you're going to remove our stitch marker and carry on crocheting. So now we've completed that, you can thread the tail yarn from your magic ring into the centre of the trunk, and then you need to do 2 single crochets and increase. So that's 1, and 2, and then in the next stitch you're going to put 2 of the same stitch, so 2 single crochets to increase. That's 1 and 2, and you're going to repeat that. Once you finish crocheting your nose, it will look like this. You need to pull the yarn through and cut it, give a generous amount in order to sew it onto the face, like so. We're now going to create the tusks. Make sure to make 2. So we're going to make our magic ring. Place the yarn across the palm of your hand, create a cross, turn it over to create the 2 parallel lines. Place your hook under the first, pull through the second, and then loop up that first one again. Pull through, and now you have your magic ring. Single crochet into the magic ring, so remember around the tail and the circle. So you're going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. Now we need to carry on, so that's the end of our magic ring. So we're going to start crocheting again. On this, it's more than likely that the back, so the part with the tail, is on the wrong side. So you just need to push it through to turn it over, and then you can carry on crocheting. You can then push the yarn into the centre of the tusk. And you don't need quite so much yarn now when you cut it off. Put it through, and then to make the arms, you're going to need the white and the grey yarn. So we continue to make our magic ring, make a cross under the first, pull through the second, and pull up that first one through, and that makes our magic ring. Single crochet into the magic ring,
single crochets.
Don't forget to add your stitch marker and increase. Now we need to change the colour. So in order to change the colour and go into the back loop, so we're going to look at our stitch. So the front loop is the one closest to you and the back loop is the one furthest away from you. So rather than going in the front of the loop like we normally would, we're now going to go into the middle of it. We then take our grey yarn we pull it through, so we loop up, so we've got 2 loops on our hook, and then we yarn over with the grey and pull through. To make it a little bit easier, cut off your yarn and tie the 2 ends together in an overhand knot. You might want to do 2 or 3 of these. So we now continue to crochet into the back loop. So don't forget to add your stitch marker. So into the back of it rather than in the middle. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So back into the back. So this is where we would normally go in the front there, but we're going to split the stitch in half. Going in the back loop only, yarn over and pull through. So continue going into that back stitch only, yarn over, pull through, and it will create this sort of flat point for the paw of your elephant. So in the back loop only, single crocheting. And then you reach back round to the starting point. Continue to crochet. Don't forget to put your stitch marker in. For our arm, we need to single crochet and decrease. So we're going to look at how to decrease again. So remove that stitch marker. This is your first stitch in the round and your single crochet. Put the stitch marker back in. And then to decrease, we go back into the body of the stitch. So the main stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. And that's our decrease. So again, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. And to decrease, into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, and decrease. Again, pull through, make sure to cut a little bit off, pull that through, and again for reference, it's just a little bit longer than your crochet hook. To make the tail, we need to work in rows. So we're going to loop it round like we normally would. We're going to go under the first, but this time we're just going to pull it through. So there's no turning or picking up another loop. This creates a loop on our hook, and then we're going to chain 4. So yarn over, pull through. That's 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 4. We don't work in this first loop, so we work in the second loop from the hook. So 1, 2. So we're going to single crochet, so into the middle of the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to slip stitch into the final 2. So we go into the middle, yarn over, pull through, into the middle of the final stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then finally pull through that loop. and that has created our tail. Pull the yarn through. We don't need a huge amount. Cut it off, and that will be ready for stitching. To make the legs, use the white yarn to start with, create a cross under the first parallel line, pull through the second and around to create your magic ring. Then you're going to single crochet into the magic ring. Don't forget to add your stitch marker and continue crocheting. So again, on the leg we need to change colour. So remove your stitch marker, place your hook into the next stitch, take your yarn, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Flip your work over. You can cut off that white yarn, tie the ends together, and then continue to crochet. Crochet in the back loop. So normally we'd go into the middle of the stitch. This time, down the middle, we're going to cut it in half, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So again, in the back of that stitch, so we've got the front loop here, that's the front, and we're going to go into the back. So back like only, and stitch. We then need to decrease. So a reminder on how to decrease. So you insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and decrease. Don't forget to add your stitch marker there, that is your first stitch. And again, so we go into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the second stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all those stitches. And again, now we've made it back to the beginning, we're going to pull our yarn through and cut it off with enough to stitch it onto the body, like that. And again, it's just longer than my crochet hook.